Welcome to Jason's Sports Show. It's a kind of random edition of the sports show. It's been a while since I last did a show. We're back. I'm just gonna talk about a few headlines. Not too long of a show. Yeah, it's a lot of new news. I'll go to a quick commercial break so I can do some things, get some stuff up, and then we'll be right back. We're back. Biggest story right now: Avery Johnson fired by the New Jersey Nets after a 14-14 start to the season. This season for the Nets is supposed to be the next big stick. New uniforms, new place to play, new players. Joe Johnson, all those guys, and where we at now, 14-14. Nets not doing so well right now. The Nets could be doing much better. I don't really know what's wrong with the Nets. They play in a division that's very that's very demanding. Currently, right now, if hypothetically if the season were to end today, they would be an 8th seed. But what exactly happened to the Nets? What exactly happened? The Nets have a lot of good players. Joe Johnson, Chris Humphries, Reggie Evans, Brook Lopez, Joe Walls. I mean, their starting five practically is pretty good already. I mean, if you really look at it, Chris Humphries is a legitimate power forward. He's shown time in and time out that he can play. Avery Johnson's a great coach. Won with the Mavs back in 2006. What's the problem? That's what I think. Where is the problem? Why aren't teams like Philadelphia and Detroit and Washington not firing their coaches? But you fire a team that is doing substantially well compared to last season, where they just did not have the tools or anything to win. I'll be honest with you. The Nets, on paper, are a good-looking team. Not a championship-looking team, but good enough. I mean, they win the games they need to win, and they lose the games that they probably would lose. There's really no surprises. There's only a few teams that really they've lost to who have been surprising, which includes the Timberwolves, and yeah, they lost to Milwaukee. They've lost to Milwaukee 2 times now, and Utah, but I don't really see a problem with that. I mean, they're a good team. They can beat Philadelphia. They can beat Toronto. They can beat the lowly teams. They can beat Boston. They can beat New York. Except they lost to New York the last 2 times. The first time they beat New York. But I mean, dang. Where's the season going? The next 3 opponents: Charlotte, Cleveland, San Antonio. Win 2 of those games, and you're in. That's what I think. You're in as soon as that happens. Where do they go from here? As soon as they get Humphries back, who's going to be the interim coach? A lot of questions to still be asked from the Nets. But we're gonna flip over to some football. Seattle Seahawks cornerback Richard Sherman has won his appeal. This is huge for Sherman due to the fact that he's going to be much needed in the playoffs if the Seahawks won't even win a game in the playoffs. But that's small news. Some big games coming up this weekend for some NFL teams. I mean, a lot of stuff on the line right now. for each conference. Well, AFC's already been set. Uh, the AFC playoff spots are done. Everything is NFC right now. So let's look at some possible teams right now. Cleveland, Chicago. Sorry, not Cleveland. Cleveland had a chance to make the playoffs, but that was 3 weeks ago, and that's not happening. Chicago. If they win their game, and Minnesota loses to the Packers, then they're in the playoffs. Dallas and Washington. Dallas needs to win their game. It's either they win their game or they don't go to the playoffs. Washington wins their game, they go to the playoffs. If they lose, they need Minnesota and Chicago to lose. The Seahawks could actually clinch a first round bye. You ever thought you would ever hear that? I never thought I would hear that. But while they're sitting at 10-5, they could clinch a first round bye. How do they do it, you ask? Well, they need a win. They need San Francisco to lose, and they need Chicago to lose. Green Bay to lose. Okay, 49ers. I think they'll win the division. Giants need a lot. They need to win. They need Dallas to lose. They need Minnesota to lose. They need Chicago to lose. That's the only way to get into the playoffs. Minnesota just needs to win. Win your game. Beat the Packers. Is that possible? When was the last time they even beat the Packers? It's been a rough time for Minnesota. Last time they faced the Packers was December 2nd, and that was at Green Bay. They lost 23-14. Not bad. It's not bad at all. But I don't know. I'm gonna look up when the last time they even beat the Packers. I'd say probably 2009. That was a great season for them. And indeed, they beat the Packers in 2009. November 1st. Anyways. A lot of new playoff scenarios. It should be exciting. A lot of games to watch. I know the game I'll be watching will be the Redskins Cowboys game. I'll be watching that at ESPN Zone in downtown LA. I will also be attending the the basketball game that night. The Clippers and the Utah Jazz. Clippers on a 14-game winning streak. And if someone were to ask me, okay, are they real? Are they a legitimate team? Do you think that the Clippers are going to win the West? Are going to have the best record in the West? Okay. But, are they a legitimate winner in the West? You're playing against two teams that are heavyweights, Oklahoma City and San Antonio. And, I mean, I'll be honest with you, the Clippers haven't really played anyone that difficult. You say, okay. Well, when's the time they can actually prove themselves to play a team that's difficult? Tonight will be that night. They play Boston. Last year, Boston came in and beat us. It was a wild game, but tonight it's gonna be different. Who of the Clippers beat that are legitimate teams? They blew out San Antonio. They beat Atlanta. They beat Chicago. They've beaten Miami. They lost to New Orleans, Atlanta, Brooklyn. In the last few teams have been played isn't really challenge ball. I'll be honest. They're not really tough teams. Utah, Sacramento, Phoenix, Toronto. those are teams that aren't really the best teams. Sorry, I'm sick. But they're not really the best teams. Not really that great. But, oh yeah. I'm gonna go commercial break, get some medicine. Stay tuned. Sorry about that. I'm a little bit sick, so maybe I shouldn't be doing the radio show, but so anyways, the Clippers aren't a legitimate team yet. I don't think they are going to be. They'll probably be overtaken by a team like Oklahoma City or San Antonio. Meanwhile, the other team in LA, this is really weird. The other team in LA now is the Lakers. They are a game out of the playoffs, and they're one of the few teams why I'm surprised why they're not in the playoffs. If you were to ask me 3 teams that you don't think belong in the playoffs, but are playing well, but just don't look right in the playoffs, would be Portland, Denver, and Houston. Houston's a great team. I like them. But, I mean, they have a good lineup. But it would have been better if they kept Louis Skoloff. I think that he could have made a difference. But he's now, and they let go of Goran Dragic. Sorry, I mispronounced that. But they let Louis Skoloff. What is he doing for the Suns? 11 points per game. It's whatever. The Suns are a broken team. I used to love the Suns, mainly because of Steve Nash. But they're just a broken team. It's really sad, honestly. But they're just broken. They're sad. Anyways, it's enough about that. The East. We're talking about the East. There's really no team that doesn't belong in the playoffs right now. A lot of the teams are playing very well. So it should be interesting going into the new year with these type of teams. I want to do something. I want to talk about high school basketball. Last night, I went to 2 games. Well, I just went to 3 games, but we didn't stay for the 3rd game. I saw my Arcadia Apaches, my school, take on Marshall. Marshall played subpar for most of the game. They had a major comeback. They cut a 23-point lead to a 9-point lead, and then they just gave up. Whatever their excuse would be, I guess. But, and then I watched another game. This game was extremely gruesome to watch. They were probably the worst. Nah, you know what? Yeah, probably the worst team I've had the privilege of watching in a game. They were pretty much. It was so hard to watch the game. They were so bad. The thing is, I check on Max Preps. Great site. And they lose. Central City was 5-2. Great team. Great looking season. There is. I'm not gonna say his name. I'm not even talk about it. Well, there's this one guy in the game who played so bad. He got rejected like a few times, and he was just having a hard time. And there was almost a brawl that broke out at the game. In the first half, Central City was down 41-9, and then they got a little bit better. They went up. They were 60. Then after the 3rd quarter, it was 64-18. Not too bad. And Lutheran kind of toned down the intensity because for the 4th quarter they had the clock continuously running, So that's pretty good. I mean, they kept the clock running, and the final score was 74-25. How do you tell your team to come back after that? I don't know what to say. Last season, Central City went 7-15. That's whatever. I don't want to analyze it that much, but this game was so horrifically bad. They played so horribly. They had two guys who were pretty good, and it turns out they just were trash. They were just trash. They just played trash ball. Didn't matter to them. I'd like to see that box score for this game, which I'm looking at right now. The leading scorer for City Central had 9 points. He's a senior. This team, they're probably the smallest team I've ever seen play basketball. Sorry. Probably the smallest team I've ever seen play basketball. I mean, Lutheran was pretty big, and we saw it was a huge mismatch. It was a huge mismatch, and Lutheran only came in with 8 players. Lutheran looks like a good team. They're 93rd in California. They're 93rd overall. So, yeah, that game was pretty bad for Central City. Hopefully they can get better, because they played really bad. Anyways, next on the topic, Arcadia versus Marshall. Oh my. Marshall. That was an interesting game, I'll tell you that much. Arcadia beat Marshall. I believe, I forgot the score was, but they won by 11 points or something. Marshall has one player. He's really bad. He's 6'5". He's a junior. I'm not going to say his name. But he's bad. He's horrible. This is what happened. I'll describe to you the play, what happened. Me and my friend Gina were watching this game. Okay. There's a play where he got blocked. And they got the ball back with the offensive rebound, and they got blocked. And they gave it to 34 again. Oh, I said his number. Oh well. They gave it to him again. He got blocked the second time. One of our guys took it down court and smashed the ball in. He was basically about to cry on the sideline. I did not stop laughing. I've never seen a team so bad, but they had a few guys who could really play, who could really ball. So I'll give it to them. Arcadia won that game though. Alright, I think that's a long enough show for today. I'm sick still, so I will catch you guys later. Thank you for listening.